he here? He's here! Hey!
Hello guys, how you doing?
Right, hello again Trials fans. I'm Ian Johnston and this is the Trials Shack, and today we've got our first interview, special guest. We'll wait. Is he here? He's here! Hey!
Hello. How's it going, man?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. How are
Sorry
you?
about that.
That's all right.
I'm trying to keep up with all the different technology that's available. It's good to see your setup. It's like you've gone in. I'm impressed.
Where are you at the moment? Are you in the house where you've been living, where you've been posting stuff on Instagram recently?
Yeah, so I'm currently living with Danny McCaskill and Rory Semple. We have been in a house up in a place called Kincraig, which is near my hometown of Inverness, where I was sort of born and brought up in the north of Scotland. We actually came to stay in this place for like 2 weeks back in March, and then obviously like lockdown happened. So we had the kind of option of like either come back to the flat, but because we were under lockdown, the people that owned the place basically said that we could continue to rent the place for basically as long as we wanted until the restrictions lifted. So it's been a really weird situation, but actually ended up working out really well for us because we've been in a place where we've been able to continue to ride like throughout the whole time. We've basically got trials in the driveway, like you guys have probably seen on our Instagram pages, and we also have trails that are literally like from where we stay to the trails are like 200 meters. So it's really cool.
Is it weird then, because you haven't been back at all, I assume?
Nah, so literally like packed come up here for, I think we were coming up here for like 12 days, and that was, well, I think it was like 130 days ago or something like that. So we've been here for 4 months. Like we've obviously been so busy for the last few years doing shows and stuff, and with those being cancelled, it's obviously a real shame, but at the same time it's been weirdly kind of refreshing to kind of just get a chance to kind of just like be in one place for a while and just ride, do stuff on your own terms, and kind of decide what you want to do next. So
yeah, I saw Andre Burton yesterday. I was riding Portland, and he said a very similar thing. He's always so busy doing shows and competitions, and it's just giving him time to chill out for a bit and also just go and ride because he wants to, and focus on enjoying it. So yeah, I think everyone's kind of getting that benefit, some sort of benefit. And some of these might sound obvious, but what bike are you riding?
So I am currently riding Inspired 4-plate team. Since I started riding proper street trials back in 2013, I've ridden an Inspired 4-plate, and it's obviously changed a little bit. The geometry's been tweaked here and there, but still pretty much riding the same bike. Kind of works perfect for me, so I don't really have any need to change it. It's pretty much stock in terms of like the team version and build, with only sort of changes I suppose are regular brakes, the Santa Cruz front, and actually currently riding a prototype Trial Tech stem, so a little bit of a higher, longer stem. I've been the last year, so it's been fun doing that, especially in the driveway, because it's been a kind of slightly more trialsy setup as opposed to riding straight, but it's been feeling pretty good. So
good stuff. Yeah, got a lot of love for Inspired. Do you have a favourite riding location?
There was a place I rode, I don't know if you saw the video I made there last year. There's like an abandoned water park in the desert in California. It was somewhere I saw in a video years ago by a skateboarder called Killian Martin, and like had this, I kind of just as a person, I really like the whole abandoned places. I've been to like a few random abandoned places around Scotland, not necessarily to ride, but just to kind of like visit them.
Yeah.
Just because it's like a cool feeling to be in places like that. But none of them have usually had like really obvious, like sort of good riding sort of setups. Whereas this place had the sort of kind of creepy abandoned vibe as well as just like being amazing fun to ride. So I'd always wanted to visit there, and I drove past it on a trip. I was like on just a fun trip with a couple of my friends in California a few years ago, and we just like went in and just couldn't believe how fun it was to ride. We ended up just like spending like a few days there and making a video and stuff. So that's probably one of the sort of standout spots. Like, yeah, it's insanely fun to ride. Really creepy place to be. Like if anyone's ever driving from from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, keep an eye out for it for sure. And if you're there, definitely go and have a look, even if it's just on your feet. But it's such a crazy feeling to be there. It's like kind of exciting, but kind of scary at the same time. I'm not like a sort of like easily spooked person, but if you find yourself there after dark, it's not a nice place to be. Like, it's proper like.
Have you got a favourite bit of riding kit?
Moving, I know it's not like a one piece of kit, but moving to being tubeless has definitely been a big thing for me. Like, I rode sort of tubes for ages, and then I suddenly was lucky to get some Santa Cruz from the guys at Santa Cruz, and then all over tubeless, and like just that setup is totally opens up so much riding.
And before you're riding Inspired, and before drop and roll and all that stuff, you were riding demos with a clan, weren't you?
Yeah, so like my introduction to demo was with the clan. Myself, Danny and Ali were doing shows together pretty much as far back as 2008. Then we did shows with a team of us for a few years, all the way up to 2013, I guess. And then that's when we started drop and roll, and been doing that ever since, really. So yeah, the stuff we did with the clan was so much fun. Like, quite a different feeling to doing stuff with drop and roll, because there's so much traveling and stuff involved with drop and roll. It's obviously great, but clan was just like such a super chill, and just like showing up to wherever with your friends and just like doing a show. It's always been good times with them. Like.
Did you have a day job at that point as well then?
I was actually a student back then, so I was studying in Edinburgh. Yeah, I studied until 2011, I think, and then was going to get a job, but we were so busy doing shows, and with like I was like the sort of degree I got, there was like hardly any good jobs going, because it was like I did like a economics, somewhere like kind of financial stuff, and it was like quite soon after the sort of 2008, 2009 crash. And like my friends were having to go and get these like, well, let's just say like not the jobs that they'd kind of dreamed of after like finishing uni. And I was like lucky, I was like getting paid like quite good money to do these shows, and we had so many of them, even though it was mostly the weekends. I was like, I guess I could probably have done both, but
you need to.
I was able to kind of like, yeah, I was able to make as much money as I was doing shows and still be able to ride and just kind of like do my own thing. It was like a really hard one to kind of do, and then I ended up doing that for like a couple of years, and then slowly started thinking about starting my own thing, and that's when myself and Danny started drop and roll.
Oh, cool. So did you meet Danny through the shows at the clan, or did you know him before that?
No, I met Danny, like, myself and Danny had known each other for almost 20 years, which is pretty crazy. There was, so basically I'm from a place called Inverness, which is in the north of Scotland, and Danny's from the Isle of Skye, about 2 hour drive between each other. And it's kind of weird back then, so I guess it would have been like 99 or 2000. It was, obviously before the internet, you would just hear all these like sort of urban legends about different group riders, or like, because there was no way of like knowing where they all were. And we'd kind of heard, like me and my friends riding this, we kind of heard about a couple of guys in Skye that were like doing this or doing that, and then they would hear about us, and we didn't really know if it was actually true or not. But there was just like a poster up in our local bike shop saying there was going to be a competition in the Isle of Skye in an old warehouse. So I was like, went home and like got my mum to drive me and my friends to this competition, and that's the other group of riders included Danny. That was the place where we first met those guys, and that was like where the sort of contact was first made. And then just kind of we'd go to Skye, and then they'd come to Inverness and stuff and ride. And just kind of happened that way. But it's crazy how long ago it actually was.
Yeah, you said it was 1999. I think that was about the same time I started riding as well. Do you have a riding idol?
Sort of Martin Hawes and Martin Ashton. I bought Tricks and Stunts on VHS out of a bike shop at a time where I was already into bikes, but I wasn't necessarily like specifically into trials. I was at that sort of stage where you were just kind of riding your mountain bike with your friends and just like riding downstairs, but still kind of wanting to go to trails, or just basically like if somebody said like what are you into, I just said like biking. And it wasn't until I got Tricks and Stunts 2, not Tricks and Stunts, and watched that probably like 100 times in like 100 days. It wasn't really until then like I really like knew that trials was what I wanted to do. So I guess those guys were just like, yeah, they were like the proper idols growing up.
Yeah. And
without those guys, I wouldn't have discovered trials. You like to Hans Ray, who was actually in that video as well. As soon as I kind of watched that video, that's when I sort of discovered like those guys, Hans Ray, and then started getting into UK and stuff, and yeah, just never really looked back since then. Yeah, obviously it's been a real shame. Like we had some pretty exciting things lined up for 2020, which have obviously had to be put in the back burner. So it's just going to be a case of playing it by ear, really, and just kind of keeping an eye on sort of guidelines and the way things are going over the next few months, and see when's the sort of first possible date for us to be back doing shows. Yeah, we really need to just kind of like, for me personally, I'd like to hold off maybe a little bit longer than we need to, so when we do come back and do a show, it's without having to worry too much about restrictions, because a typical drop-and-roll show is definitely the sort of polar opposite of social distancing, so need to make sure we're in a much better place before we can get 4,000 people together for a packed out show.
Are we going to see you down south at any point?
Yeah, I'd love to. Like, I think with, if anything, like this situation sort of made you kind of start looking a little bit closer to home for trips and stuff like that. So there might be a time where we're maybe not able to so easily travel abroad. It'd be really cool to do a sort of mini UK road trip when the time's right. And sort of, yeah, ride with all you guys, it'd be class. It's something I always think about. I'm like, we always end up doing shows over in Europe and stuff. Because of the way that we get the ferry, we just kind of skip out the whole thing and don't get to explore. It'd be really cool to jump in the van and just do like a little mini tour of the UK, wouldn't it? And like just get some group rides in the course. Something we should talk about for sure.
Yeah.
Try and get something planned out. Something we don't do enough of for sure.
There was a UK trial tour was going to be taking place, I think it was this week or last week,
Yeah.
which obviously got cancelled,
Yeah.
but that would have been really cool. And I know there's a few guys that are arranging group rides. I've been on a couple of smaller group rides, but it seems like they might be becoming a thing again, group rides.
I think for us, like this, like I said, this situation's kind of made you kind of really kind of big group and kind of think about like what you want to do, and that's definitely one thing like I don't think happens enough. It's just like a group of like-minded people just getting together. Like doesn't need to be a competition, doesn't need to be a show, just
enjoy riding
together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah, we'll get it. That's great.
Thank you very much for joining me today.
No worries.
If you enjoyed the show today, then don't forget to hit like, subscribe for more videos, and head over to Duncan Shaw's Dunk Shaw channel on YouTube for more videos of Duncan. Any other mentions you wanted to get in?
No, just thanks again for having me, and good effort for getting the show on the go. It's cool. It's good to see.
Yeah, it's nice to catch up.
It's good getting a show like this. It's a really good idea, I think.
Cool. Yeah, I get a lot of positive feedback. People seem to be liking it, so that's good. Hopefully it'll keep going in that direction.
Thanks again, Dave. I'll speak to you soon.
Yep. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.